Hi, welcome back to Ghost Tracks Podcast. I'm Tina, I'm your host. And it is a listener story episode, the fourth one. I can't believe it. I've put out like 8 episodes now in total. It's pretty cool. It's almost 2 months, right? 2 months worth of me talking at you guys. All 2 of you. I think last time I said 3. Did I lose a listener somewhere? Oh no. Don't leave. We're just getting started. I'm being stared at by my cats. They're on the bed. I'm sitting in my chair. And our one cat, his name is Ducky. And he has one of the best dank eye faces I have ever seen in my life. He has a little, like a dark spot on his lip. Just a normal spot, it's just part of his coloring. But it always makes him look like he's got his lip pulled up, like, ugh, looking at you. So that's what I'm dealing with currently. I'm being stink-eyed by my cat. So, but he's cute. But anyway, I don't have anything really to talk about right now to get started. Still on the healing journey of whatever plague I caught. The kids are, getting over, well, one kid. Only one kid caught it, so that's good. I'm over here looking at my shelf, and I am staring at the Sasanac whiskey. You guys, if you follow me on social media, then you already saw this. But I met Sam Hewen from Outlander. My friend and I drove up to Chicago on Valentine's Day because meeting Sam was far more important than spending Valentine's Day with our spouses. I am kidding. My husband was out of town working, and her husband was kind of just doing his own thing. I don't know. He was cool with her going, though. She did talk to him before. But yeah, we drove up to Chicago. It was an amazing drive. It was so cool. Fun fact, I actually work with this friend as well. And so it was nice to get out and have a little adventure that didn't have to do with the grind. And we got to talk, for hours because we were stuck in a car together, listen to some amazing music, Sleep Token being at the top of that list. I'm still on Sleep Token over here, guys. I know I talked to you about this last episode as well, but I'm not over it. I love Sleep Token. I could talk about them all day. But anyway, yeah. So we went and met Sam Hewen, and I'm looking over at his bottle of whiskey because I'm not a whiskey drinker, but my best friend is. So I bought it really for her to enjoy. But mostly it's signed by him too. So I have a bottle that he touched and he signed it and he hugged me and I got a hug from him and photos. And that was, just kind of made my life. So that was pretty cool thing that happened on Valentine's Day. A whole 11 days ago, but that's okay. I'm not over it yet. But yeah, not a whole lot else happening around here, other than being sick. So we'll get started. Again, this is a listener story episode. So, I'm reading shit back to you guys today. I have a couple of things from friends and, another paranormal investigator actually wrote in and shared his story. And then I did have to go to Reddit. You guys, I really need your stories because I don't want to be robbing Reddit all the time. But our first story is that Reddit story. It is from Last of Academia. It's not academia. I know what that is. That's not it. I don't know how it's pronounced, truthfully. But they're telling us some stories about their grand's house. So it said, I thought I would share my story about my grand's house. I am aware of 4 events that happened in the house, and I'll caveat by saying I'm probably the best described as a curious skeptic. Paranormal stuff fascinates me, but I am by no means claiming that there isn't a rational explanation. I'll get the first incident out of the way. It probably happened first to my knowledge. My granddad died roughly 10 months before I was born. My cousin is the youngest in the family to have met him, and she claims that when she was staying at my grand's house one night after he had died, she woke up and he was standing at the end of the bed watching her. I say, get it out of the way, because that's literally all I know, and frankly, my cousin is a prick and she lies, so who knows? Anyway, moving on. I have to say, when I first read this, I was a little confused. I was like, when I say get out of the way, who are you talking to? Are you telling the ghost to get out of the way? But now I understand. I keep saying my brain is essentially just a bowl of oatmeal up there these days. But it thickened a little bit. I understood that now. So, 5th time reading it is a charm, I guess. The remaining events occurred in a different room to the one my cousin claims to have had an experience in. This room was the smallest bedroom, and I hated it in this room. For as long as I can recall, I hated how it made me feel, and I used to always say it was haunted. Even before I had any experience, I couldn't quite explain. One of the weird feelings came from behind the door, where there was a narrow recess in the wall. It was maybe 15 inches across, and my gran used to store loose odds and ends, like rolls of wrapping paper and such. But for some reason, I always felt like something was watching me out of that little gap in the wall. One time, when I was probably 5 years old, I was staying the night at my gran's and had to sleep in that room. Despite every effort to make the room friendly by putting up Barney wallpaper, oh my goodness, Barney. Okay, nope, they're going into it. It says, by putting up Barney wallpaper. For the non-UK, or perhaps younger UK readers, this wasn't Barney the dinosaur, but a cartoon from the late 80s, early 90s about an old English sheepdog. Got it. Okay, not the purple dinosaur, Barney. We are not friends. This is an English sheepdog named Barney. I'll have to ask my grandmother about that. Or my mommy, because I don't remember this cartoon, and I was in Europe at that time. So I remember watching Mickey Mouse when we lived overseas. I was Mickey obsessed. So I do remember that. And it wasn't just normal Mickey Mouse. It was the Christmas Carol. Mickey's Christmas Carol, where, they go Scrooge McDuck and the ghost of Christmas past and present and future. Yeah, that one. I was obsessed with it. See, I've always been a ghost girly. I just figured it out. My goodness. Anyway, back to the story. It says, I got told it was time for bed, and so made my way up the stairs. At the top, the stairs turned to the right into a short landing, and I had to come back on myself to get to that room at the end. But as I turned, I froze. On the white wooden door in front of me, I could see a face. A face with horns looking back at me. The only way I can describe it was that it was almost like seeing it in my mind's eye rather than a physical mark. But I would swear to you it was right in front of me, looking at me from the door. Now, it could well have been the product of a child's vivid imagination, but it sufficiently freaked me out enough to make me cry with fear and panic. And I ran back downstairs to get an adult and said there was a face on the door. When we were brought back upstairs, it was gone. The third incident happened when I was about 13. My gran was the only one in the family who had Sky TV, so I would regularly go and visit so that I could watch wrestling on TV. Oh, wrestling. back in like the 80s and 90s. What a time. On this particular day, I was downstairs watching and my gran was upstairs. Usually she was sewing when she was upstairs. She had one of the old Singer treadle sewing machines, a big cast iron unit with a solid wooden frame. For further context, my gran was easily 4 foot 9 inches, a tiny woman with her healthiest years behind her for sure. Side tangent number 80 million. I also have that sewing machine and it is downstairs. My beautiful daughter bought it for me because I love vintage shit. And she used to work at a secondhand store and she bought it for me and brought it home. And I'm so excited. Obviously, it doesn't work or anything. That's okay. I literally just wanted it to have, the aesthetic of it to add to the rest of my old weird shit downstairs. But okay, anyway, I was downstairs watching The Rock do his thing and I heard a terrific bang from upstairs. I rushed upstairs to check my gran was okay when I saw her come out of her bedroom and the sewing machine, which easily weighed upwards of 30 pounds, was on the floor, having tipped itself over. Poor gran, God. Lastly, some years later, I was speaking to my aunt. She had spent a lot of her childhood in the 60s and 70s growing up in that house, and she said that room had been her bedroom. She told me that she also hated the room and thought it to be haunted, and that she'd had an experience of her own. The bedroom sat at the front side of the house and had one window, which was directly above the front door. She recalled that one day she was out in the street playing with friends while her siblings and parents were at work. She is the youngest of 4. Something made her look up at the house, and in the window she could see the figure of a man standing, looking out onto the street, despite knowing for sure that there was nobody home. So that's the story of my gran's house. Unfortunately, we have no ties to the house anymore, as she moved out around 2010 and then died in 2012. I'm so sorry for the loss of your gran. But I still regularly think about the house and the weird feeling I got in that bedroom throughout my childhood. And only in that bedroom, not the rest of the house. If you managed to stumble through my rough memories, thank you, and I would be interested to know your thoughts. Well, I believe that hauntings, entities, spirits, energy can live in just one singular space, whether that be a corner, a closet, one bedroom. I truly believe those things. So prior to my current job, I was a contract cleaner for 3 years, and I cleaned short-term vacation rentals. And there was one rental, and here's the thing, okay? I pick up on energy very, very easily. Typically speaking, though, I pick up on energy from people. I can meet a person and pretty much instantaneously know whether or not they're a piece of shit. And my husband has learned the hard way on numerous occasions to believe me when I'm telling you that that person is not a good person. He's been screwed over many times by people that he thought were his friends, or that I was being over dramatic. Hopefully he understands now. We've been together 10 years. So, but if he hasn't, well, I guess that's on him. But anyway, but I've never walked into a home or a space and been so viscerally affected by that space that I literally turned and ran. So this particular property, drove up, I was asked to go to the property and pick up some packages. They had not launched this cabin yet. So, it was pre-launch, so no guests were there or anything. The house was not put together. It was not guest ready. There was still a lot to do over there to get it to that point. But the owners had some packages delivered to the property that they needed to be put inside the property, obviously for, theft reasons. So I went over there, and the property manager was like, walk around the property, check it out. You're welcome to walk the grounds and everything. It's really pretty. I think you're going to like it. Da 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 da. So I get there, and yeah, the grounds were beautiful. The home itself was beautiful, like top tier for a short-term rental, like beautiful. Secluded, has, some acreage to it. It's in the woods, had like an English garden that was like gated in. Oh my God. Like really, really pretty house. Okay. And I walk in, and I think I went to the downstairs first. And this fucking house had like 4 floors. I'm not even kidding. So I like go in and I go downstairs, and most people are afraid of basements, right? So I'm down in the basement, finished, it was like a raised ranch kind of style home, kind of. But anyway, it was built on a hill, really. It's not really a raised ranch. It was built onto a hill. So there was the very, very bottom floor, like ground floor. And that was literally just an exercise room. That's all that was down there. And then you had to go up a spiral staircase. And then that was actually like the bottom floor, anyway, it had a bedroom, a bathroom, laundry room, living room, gaming area, all that. And then you went upstairs to what is the main floor, and that's where the other living room, like the main living room, dining room, kitchen, another bedroom, bathroom, closet, all that was. And then it had an upstairs. And the upstairs, this is the top floor, had an open loft area, which was kind of just like a sitting area. Like they made it into a sitting area, and there were books there for reading. And then there was a bathroom at the top of the stairs and a bedroom. That bedroom, so the upstairs in general creeped me out. Like I remember ascending the stairs and just started feeling like jittery and kind of warm. Like, oh my God, so like you just know something's coming, but you don't know what it is, and you start getting anxious. So I'm like creeping up these stairs, and I'm like, not really liking this a whole lot. This is giving me the heebs, and I'm not sure why, because the rest of the house has been like perfect. Oh, and there's a huge glass atrium off of this house, like huge, like, back porch, huge back deck, but it's all enclosed, tile floor, the whole thing, the ceiling and the sides, all of it is glass. Like, I could have lived in just the atrium. Anyway, I sidetracked. I forgot to tell you guys about that, and that was my favorite part. But anyway, so I'm going upstairs, creeped out. I look over at the sitting area, and I'm like, don't really like it. Something weird. Bathroom, not crazy about that either. Went over to the bedroom and said, fuck this, I'm out. I literally ran down the stairs out of the house, locked the door, was halfway to my car, and went, fuck, I forgot to put the packages inside. So I had to go back to the front door, get the damn packages, and put them back in the stinking house that I just ran out of. And I had told the property manager, I said, I'm not sure what demons you've got in this place, but you all need to have it cleansed, because there's something upstairs in here that is not welcoming. Like, I don't know what it is. The rest of the house is fine, but there's something happening in the upstairs of this property. I'm sure she thought I was crazy. That's fine. I don't really give a shit. And if you're listening and you know me personally and you know who I'm speaking of, I'm sure you don't give a shit either, because fuck that lady. Anywho, I think it was about 2 weeks later, we got really bad storms, okay? And again, this is on a fully wooded lot, like mature trees up against the house. And then there was grass, down the hill and everything. And then the rest of the trees, it had a yard. And then the rest of the trees, there was a wood line. And then the rest of the trees. But anyway, had these like super bad storms. We actually got several tornadoes in the area. And a tornado just happened to touch down right there on that property. Okay. This big ass fucking tree. I mean, this thing was huge. Towered over the house itself. And it started growing at a lower level than what the main floor was. So like this tree was massive. Big ass trunk. Like not a wimpy tree by any means. This motherfucker falls over and misses the house. And it was right next to the house. It hit it hit one of the lower parts of the home, but not the upper part where I swear to God there's a goddamn demon. Look, I told him, I said, you guys are lucky. The demon said not today tree, and it saved you from like having a tree in the upstairs of your house. Because I swear to God, if that was any other home, that tree would have ended up on the inside of the house. Like, it was just weird the way that it fell, and it hit the bottom portion. Like, it barely clipped the house. But the way that it had fallen, like, it didn't make sense how it didn't hit the upper floor of the home. So, it's got demons in there. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, we're gonna get back to our stories. This is from Doug. He is from IPSI. They're actually a local paranormal investigative group. I follow them on Instagram, and you can too. And he's been super great. He followed me, and he's been super engaging on posts and everything, which is so helpful. And I love looking at their stuff. I would absolutely love to talk to him in person and his team. I think that would be super great. And I don't know, maybe one time I can like convince them to come on the show and, chat about one of their investigations. That would be cool, right? So he wrote in and he said, "Hi, this is Doug from IPSI. I'm the one that's been commenting on your posts on Instagram, and I just wanted to share my first time visiting an actual haunted location. Also, it was the first time with the team, so there was a lot of firsts for me. Let's just say it was one to remember from this one experience, and luckily it didn't happen. The story I am sharing happened during a public investigation at Indiana State Sanatorium hosted by Ghost Hunts USA. And they just wanted to let us know that Ghost Hunts is no longer around. So that's stinky. But I have found another ghost hunting company that is nationwide, and they have a lot of ghost hunts in our area that I'm super excited about. We're going to try and go on some this summer, so stick around for those. If you're unfamiliar with Ghost Hunts USA, they helped you learn the ropes of being a ghost investigator. They were good for beginners and getting experience at an actively haunted location. There were a lot of people in attendance, and we had to be broken up into different groups. We rotated to stations to learn different techniques and tools of the trade. Our very first station, where the unfortunate event happened, was learning the Estes method on the 3rd or 4th floor of the psychiatric building. So, I don't know if you guys know what the Estes method is. The Estes method is done typically with 2 people. There's 2 people during it. It could be a group, but there's typically 2 people. And there is one person who is blindfolded and has noise-canceling headphones on that are also attached to, oh my God, what's it called? On nuts, guys. Spirit box. I'm so sorry. But it's attached to a spirit box. And a spirit box uses AM and FM frequencies, and it just very quickly goes through the AM and FM frequencies. And basically, you're blindfolded, you're wearing the noise-canceling headphones, and you have the spirit box on, So it's going through the AM and FM frequencies, and the other person is asking questions of the spirits that are in the room. And the person with the headphones on then says whatever word or phrases they're hearing coming through on the headphones. So the person wearing the headphones obviously can't, or they shouldn't be able to hear the person asking the questions over the AM and FM frequencies, and they are blindfolded, so they cannot see the person asking the questions. So if you're a lip reader, ain't gonna happen, okay? So it's just a form of communicating with spirits. Super cool. I would love to do the Estes method one day. But anyway, so he said they were learning the Estes method on the 3rd or 4th floor of the psychiatric building. The guide for the lesson had a volunteer for the headphones while she was asking the questions. We all turned off our flashlights and she started to ask questions. It was pitch black in the hallway and you couldn't even see the person next to you, kind of dark. Trying to listen to the questions and the response to the questions. During that time, I kept hearing the sound of someone's jacket rubbing against the rough wall as they swayed. I was getting annoyed with the noise and was thinking about saying something about it. Suddenly, that noise changed to the sound of something sliding down the wall and something hitting the floor like a bowling ball. We all were in shock and rushed to turn on our flashlights. We found one of the group members passed out on the floor, and we thought he was possibly seizing. The guide was trying her best to wake the guy up and was getting ready to have 911 called because that was protocol. After the guy passed out, and as we started to attend to him, the other guy was still wearing the headphones, still doing the Estes method, and was saying, "Get out," because that's what he was hearing. Meanwhile, we're all still trying to get a response from the guy on the floor. He then shot up like the Undertaker from pro wrestling. I love that 2 stories talk about wrestling. What are the odds? He was responsive and not acting like a person who had just bounced his head off of the floor like a bowling ball. He kept claiming he didn't need to go to the hospital and nothing was wrong, and he had no idea why he was on the floor. So the guide and other people helped him up. We continued on with the night, but heard some updates about the guy that passed out. He was there with a friend, and at the time of his passing out, she was complaining about feeling dizzy and off balance. So she thought to move in front of him in case she fainted or passed out and he could catch her. As soon as she did, that's when he passed out. I'm not saying that is proof of anything paranormal. The guy could have had an unknown medical issue, and being there triggered it somehow. Just seemed like a coincidence that happened to him and something communicated "get out" over the headphones. So that's my story of my very first time investigating with my teammates. I do highly recommend going to the Indiana State Sanatorium. I do feel the need to apologize because writing is not my strength and I am dyslexic. If you need to make some adjustments to read it better, be my guest. I hope you will be able to use it for your next listener stories. Well, you did great. I wouldn't have even known that you were dyslexic or that you were not strong in writing. You did fantastic. That is quite a first investigation. I don't know. With the one person feeling dizzy and off balance, and then her close proximity to the other guy, and then he passed out. And it sounds like, and maybe you can clarify, hi, hello, Doug, if you're listening. If you could clarify, when he woke up, was he confused? Like, hello, what the hell just happened? What are you all talking about? Why am I on the ground? Or did he kind of know, that something had happened? I'd be interested to know that. But it sounds like somebody got haunted and passed out in the process. But I'm glad medically he was fine, and I'm glad that, you guys got an experience. And I'm sorry, but if somebody's passing out and then another person doing the Estes method who can't see nor hear what is happening around them, and then all of a sudden he's yelling, "Get out," because that's what he's hearing. Yeah, no, I think there was definitely an entity there that maybe wanted to be left alone. Maybe he wasn't feeling the ghost hunt that night. Maybe on another night he's a jovial spirit, but that evening he wasn't having it. Kind of cool though. But thank you so much, Doug, for writing that and sending it in. I appreciate it. I would love to hear more stories from you. So get with me. Like I said, I'd love to have you on if you're listening. You and your team. That would be super cool to interview you guys. So anyway, think about it. Let me know. This next one is from my friend Stephanie. And she said, "I'll never forget this. I was staying all night at my grandparents' house, and my cousin and I always slept on a pallet by their bed. One morning, we woke up and saw a big shadow holding the hand of a smaller shadow, and they walked across the room into one wall and through the other. We were about 4 to 5 years old and looked at each other like, did you just see that? From that moment on, I was obsessed with the beyond, the unexplained and the supernatural. Not long after that, in the old house we lived in at the time, I had 2 imaginary friends. They were boys named Brian and Jason, and I kept making my mom buy boxes of Band-Aids because they told me they needed them. When we moved out of that house, my dad worked at the police station and found a record of how there was a house fire in that house several years before, and 2 boys died in it, and their names were Brian and Jason. And to this day, I remember them. I am blind in one of my eyes, and I have limited vision in the other, so I've always believed my other senses were much stronger and picked up the spiritual world. Either that, or I'm just nuts." Steph, when I read that, I was cracking up. No, I don't think you're nuts. It's a proven fact. I mean, it's a proven fact. If you are blind or deaf or hard of hearing, or if you have a lack of any of your senses, the other senses will be amplified to pick up the slack of whatever one isn't functioning at full capacity. I also think, I mean, these happen when you were little. I know that you have had other experiences. I love you to death. I know it's been forever since we've seen each other. We need to alleviate that, but I know that you have had other experiences. I think that you are a very open person. I think all of our friends in our little group are, which is why we love each other so much and get along so well. But kids, man, they're open doors. They're open doors to the other side, because we were not told, well, many of us were not told that what we were seeing and experiencing was wrong or wasn't happening or, none of that. So we were young, 4 years old. We're still pretty close to, we are closer to the other side at that point, having just come from the other side. I mean, our souls have to come from somewhere, right? So our souls are coming from that other side into our human form. So we're closer to being of spirit still than we are not. And I think that so like me, oh my gosh, up until my children were born, I was so in tune with myself. And I was very lucky in a lot of ways growing up with my mom. Hi, Mom. I love you. My dad just, he never really played an active role. When we were growing up, his parents were very abusive. Okay. To me and my siblings. So there's a lot of trauma there. But my mother, if we saw something, if we heard something, if we felt something, it was believed. My aunt, my mom's sister, is very woo-woo herself, as my mom calls it. So I was never told that what I was feeling and experiencing and all of that it was wrong, or that I wasn't actually having those experiences. So my tuition, my visions, my dreams, just all of that inner voice, I think I talked about it maybe last episode, but that inner voice that some people have that are telling you things. I had that, and I still have it. I'm coming back to myself now, but it wasn't until after my kids were born, well, after my daughter was born, when I met my ex-husband. That is when most of my abuse started. Like emotional abuse, where it was very pointed at me, okay? What I'm feeling is stupid. What I am saying is stupid. I'm a liar. I'm this, I'm that. There was physical abuse. There was a lot of abuse in that relationship. And I was beat so far down into the ground. I stopped believing myself. I stopped trusting myself. I stopped listening to that inner voice because I didn't believe that anything that I was seeing, hearing, dreaming, it wasn't real anymore. I was told that it wasn't real. It was stupid. And I was made to feel crazy for years. And there is a distinct before and after for myself for that. And it sucks. Like, it fucking sucks. Because you have to work so hard to open yourself back up and get back into that space. And the hardest part for me is trusting myself, trusting that voice, trusting that inner knowing. Again, I do get it all the time. It's still there, especially now. It's a lot better now. I think it was 2 years ago. I was driving through town. I came up to a four-way major intersection. Yeah, four-way major intersection. We have the stoplights, so there's one on each side. My light turned green, and I went to go, and in my head, I heard the word hesitate. And I did, because I was like, what a fucking weird word to have. Not stop, not don't go. It said hesitate. So I stopped. I took my foot off of the gas and I waited. And a cop blew through that fucking intersection. He had to have been going over 60 miles an hour. Lights on, no siren. Okay? I had the green light. I had a green arrow at the time because I was turning left through that intersection. Had my inner voice not told me to hesitate, had I accelerated and by the time I would have gotten out into that intersection where I was turning, that cop would have hit me right where I was sitting in that driver's seat. I would have been dead. No doubt about it. I would have died. There would have been no way I could have walked away from that. None. So I'm glad I listened to it that day. Like I said, I pick up on people's energies really, really easily. And I just have to trust myself that whatever I am feeling, whatever spidey sense is going off, that there is a reason for it. And when I'm not trusting myself, that's usually when I get myself into fucking trouble. So listen to your inner knowing. Okay. But yeah, adults are so shut down because we've been told, a lot of us have been told by the world that, that these things aren't real, that it's not true, that if we are having experiences that we're crazy, and I just don't believe that. I mean, I believe people are crazy, but I really, truly believe that there is another side. And I don't think, I mean, it's literally called a veil. It's a veil. Veils aren't thick, guys. I think that there is an intermingling between our side and the liminal spaces beyond. So, and that's something I would love to chat with you guys about sometime in the future. That'll be another episode, is liminal spaces, because I love them. Last story, because I've done all the talking this episode. I'm going off on tangents. I hope you're entertained, though. Anyway, my friend Heather wrote this in. Hi, Heather. Thank you for writing. I'm so excited. I've been waiting. And I know you have more stories too, girl. And Heather and I have gone on, well, we've gone on some adventures. We've gone to, oh my gosh. We went to a state hospital that was shut down, did a tour there. It was really cool. We went to Whispers Estate together, had a time there. We've gone to graveyard, we've been to a couple graveyards now, actually. But yeah, and Heather and I, we some spooky bitches, and we cannot wait to go to more haunted spots, and so I can tell you guys the stories about it. But she wrote in, and she said, back when I was very heavily involved in ghost hunting and or going to haunted places, I encountered many cool places within Indiana. I traveled all over, from visiting Hell's Gates to Black Lady's Grave to Central State Mental Asylum, which are now apartments. God. Could you imagine? Could you imagine living in an apartment that used to be a state mental asylum? And we're not talking, like a long-term care facility, mental facility. Today, we're talking a state mental asylum from back in the day. We're talking lobotomies, ice bath, shock therapy, fucking lock them in the room, don't feed them, strap them to beds bullshit. The energy. And their apartments. They're new apartments, so they have to be renovated, right? Could you imagine how pissed off some ghosts were about that? Holy shit. Anywho, out of all the places I have ever been, I will say this: most of these places have been far creepier than the story I'm about to tell you. I love that she picked this then. My friends and I hung out just about every weekend, and we would find and go to new locations to explore. On this particular weekend, we decided to go to a place called Tunnelton Tunnel that is located in Tunnelton, Indiana. This location is so small, it is not even on the map, and cell service cuts out. Ooh. Could you imagine just driving into some little itty bitty podunk something that's haunted and then your cell doesn't work at all? I'd shit myself, I think. We GPS'd down there and everything was going smoothly until we lost service, and we were stuck on back roads in a new location, not knowing where we were. The hills have eyes. And again, we have never been here before. Stuck on back roads of Indiana, I had this overwhelming sense come over me. I told my friend who was driving to just go. We were maybe 8 minutes from the tunnel. He proceeds to drive and had said turn right, then another right, and then left, etc. Guys, we ended up finding the tunnel. Call it some type of psychic ability or just a weird gut instinct that was calling me there, but holy shit. I was legit a bit freaked out and didn't know what to make of the situation. My friends nonchalantly got out of the car and were ready to explore when I was still contemplating on what the fuck I did not want to leave the car and go walk around, so I told them to go. While I waited, the eerie silence fell off for me, and I felt like I was being watched. As I sat there, I felt nauseous and realized I started my fucking period. Needless to say, if something feels off, then do not go exploring or even get out of the car. I did end up going back multiple other times after and explored, but that was the craziest shit that I had ever encountered while ghost hunting. Thanks for sharing my story, and I will share others once I get a chance to write them all up. Well, I can't wait. I'm sorry you started your period, girl. There is nothing worse than an unexpected visit from the period fairy. Like, the shit. Again, just that inner voice. That inner knowing. That, like, we just all have it, guys. I'm convinced you will never, ever, ever convince me otherwise. I don't give a shit what you say. But we all have that inner voice and inner knowing. It's there. Call it spirit. Call it whatever you want. But we've got it. So yeah, that is all of our stories for today. Thank you so much for everybody that shared their stories with me. I so appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Like, I just love you. I just love you. But yeah, check us out on socials. I have Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. If you want to share your listener story, again, it could be anything. Cryptid related, alien related, just a weird encounter you had that you don't really have an explanation for, weird feelings, a ghost, a paranormal investigation you went on that you wanted to talk about. If you have suggestions for haunts, just if you have suggestions for a haunting that you would like me to talk about, a haunted place or a cool place or just a story that you want me to read, that you've heard about, email those in. I love hearing from you guys. I will take all the suggestions that you have. I have a running list over here, but I'm always looking for more suggestions. But you can email that in to ghosttrackspodcast@gmail.com. Give us a like, give us a share, tell your friends about me, tell your family, tell me about them. I want to know it all. But yeah, again, thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate you. I love hearing your stories. I love reading them. And I will see you next time. But until then, stay creepy. Bye.